Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Center Podcast. I'm Amelia Zhivatovskaya, your host and founder of the Flourishing Center. We are training the change agents of the world and equipping them with research-based tools for healthy, happy, and successful living, and we're so grateful that you're here. Each episode features 3 sections. First is the Science Says section, where we summarize a recent research study and show you how to put the science into action. Next, we give you a research-based life hack with simple strategies for incorporating positive psychology into your life for greater well-being. And then our Practitioner Corner is where we interview someone who's out there living, breathing, and spreading positive psychology in their own unique way. Learn about how they're growing their personal and professional work and get inspired with strategies for how you might use positive psychology in your own life. Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Hello, thanks for tuning in. In today's Science Says, we ask the question, what impact does sleep make on people feeling more engaged and connected at work? Then we'll look at how can you improve the quality of your sleep through some very simple life hacks. And lastly, in our Practitioner Corner, meet Andrea from Toronto. She is a nutritionist, coach, and yoga teacher. And she's someone who teaches old dogs new tricks, literally. Learn more from her about the role of wellness and nutrition in leading a healthier and happier life, and so much more. Let's dive into today's episode. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to share with you today's research study titled Rested, Friendly, and Engaged: The Role of Daily Positive Collegial Interactions at Work, published in the Journal of Organizational Behavior in 2017. One of the reasons I'm really excited about this study is because it's actually conducted in the field. Oftentimes, we get a lot of research conducted on college students. And here, the researchers went into an organization and measured 69 employees through daily diary submissions. They measured the employees before they started the experiment, and then 3 times a day, every day for 5 consecutive days. They asked these employees to rate their experiences of positive emotions, engagement, social interactions, and then how much sleep they got at night, both the quantity and quality, and how rested they felt. Here's what they found. On days when people were more rested, they had more positive emotions. And when they had more positive emotions present, they were more likely to approach colleagues and have positive interactions, which led them to feel more engaged. And the higher they scored on engagement, the more likely they were to engage in recovery activities in the evening. So we see this domino effect. Now, we want to understand that obviously correlation does not mean causation. So we know that there's a correlation between sleep quality and having positive emotion. And then another correlation between positive emotion and connecting with one's colleagues. And then connecting with one's colleagues being related to one feeling more engaged. And then being more engaged being related to having better recovery activities in the evening. So these are all correlations, but it's really interesting to see that it seems to be starting with a good night's sleep, and that when people did not have high quality sleep, they did not have the benefits of positive emotions, and they didn't have as much energy available to them to then be able to spread that to others. And so we want to explore what are some of the factors that might impede or facilitate individuals in getting the amount of sleep that they need and to be properly rejuvenated for the next day. This is one of the first studies to really explore the 24-hour cycle for employees and look at what role self-care plays in creating more positive organizational culture. Now, I don't know about you, but I actually love to sleep, and I have spent a good portion of my life actually fighting how much sleep my body actually needs. When I was younger, I used to feel like I would win the gold medal for look at how little sleep I could get by on. And it took me years and years of looking at the science and research on the benefits of sleep to finally learn how to respect sleep. Prior to that, I kind of thought of sleep as this bonus time that I could chip away into. And it has been so helpful to see the research supporting that sleep is the foundation to vitality, that our body is a battery, and a battery that we recharge at night. But if you aren't getting a good night's sleep, or you're woken up many times throughout the night, or it might take you a while to fall asleep, and when you do finally fall asleep, your sleep doesn't get very deep, you are missing out on the opportunity to really build your vitality and your sense of well-being. And we see it rippling into other parts of our day. This particular experiment showed that it impacted how people interacted with their colleagues, and therefore how much more engagement and sense of connection they had throughout the day. And the list goes on and on in terms of benefits of sleep. So for our life hack today, we're going to take a look at how to improve your quality of sleep. Today's positive psychology-based life hack is how to improve the quality of your sleep. Sleep is the foundation of vitality, and when we are not getting enough sleep, it impacts so many different elements of our health and well-being. Research shows that our inflammatory rates go up, our production of ghrelin, the hormone that gets released in our body that tells us that we're hungry, goes up, and our leptin, which tells us that we feel full, goes down, so we tend to want to eat more, which usually impacts everything from weight gain to feeling cranky and therefore tired and craving sugar. And it has this downward spiral on our well-being. And many people are walking around chronically sleep deprived. Sometimes we're walking around chronically sleep deprived because we feel that sleep isn't all that important and that we can get by with less of it. So we prioritize things like getting work done or being more social and other things, and we forego sleep. And sometimes we forego our sleep not because we want to, but because we can't fall asleep. So today we're going to look at the latter. What happens when our sleep hygiene is impacted and we might not be getting the best sleep that we can, despite the fact that we are creating time to go to sleep. And so you might be laying there in bed, tossing and turning, trying to fall asleep, or maybe you do get asleep, but for some reason you find that you're not getting into those deeper states of sleep, those deep REM dreaming states that give you a very satisfying sense of sleep. If you're not getting into those deeper states, it's kind of like the sensation you get when you want to yawn, but you can't. I kind of think that that's what happens when we end up getting a few nights of sleeping, but not really sleeping. You're sleeping, but you're kind of aware that you're still pretty awake. And so one of the first things we want to do is understand the different stages of sleep. So we don't just sleep for 7 or 8 or 9 hours straight throughout the night. Research shows that we cycle through about 90-minute cycles of sleep. And the first few cycles of our sleep patterns are actually wired to help us replenish our body, whereas the latter cycles of sleep help us replenish our mind. And what happens is the more time we spend in bed, the more time we spend in that latter part of our REM cycle, where we're actually replenishing our brain. The first few cycles, we spend more time replenishing our body, a little bit less time replenishing our mind. Combined, what we get is re-energized sense of self, and we get greater health and well-being. So we want to explore how to fall asleep and how to stay asleep. Sleep hygiene refers to the conditions around you that support you in being able to have a good night's rest. One of the most important things we can do for sleep hygiene is create more darkness when we sleep, because this stimulates the production of melatonin in our body. It also tells our body that it must be nighttime, and it regulates our circadian rhythms and our internal clock to say it must be bedtime. But when we have too much exposure to lights, whether it be through the computer or through the cell phone, through ambient light that's happening around us, it tells the brain it must not be time to go to sleep yet. There are many different apps that you can get for your phone or for your computer that take out the blue light that is coming from the screen to help with the receptors inside of our eyes and our brain to help us process that light as a different type of light that's not as jarring to our well-being. Another really important element of sleep hygiene is to make sure that you are getting into a relaxed state when falling asleep. Oftentimes, if we're trying to fall asleep and we are stressed out, we're thinking about all the things that we didn't get done today or all the things that we have to do tomorrow, or replaying conversations in our head. If we are stressed out, the body basically says, it must not be safe for me to be able to fall asleep and to lay here for all of these hours straight. What if something bad happens while I'm asleep? And so what this results in is tossing and turning and again, feeling frustrated that you're not able to fall asleep and then thinking about how your day the next day is going to be so challenging if you don't fall asleep, and it creates a vicious cycle. So we really want to focus on how are we helping our body fall asleep at night? How are we down regulating our nervous system so that the body knows that it's safe to go to bed? One really simple strategy is if you are not able to fall asleep because your brain is thinking about all the things that you need to do as one of our CAP graduates, Lou Trincheri, said, he makes tomorrow's to-do list today. And this is a really great way to get some of those things that you need to get done out of your head and down on paper. And once those thoughts or ideas have a home, they no longer have to play over and over inside of your head, which can lead to a better night's sleep. Another reason why journaling is really good for us as well, because putting your thoughts down on paper before you go to bed can help get the body a bit more relaxed. Other practices include physical ones that help the body get more calm. This could be taking a bath or a shower. This could be doing some light stretches before you fall asleep, doing some positions where the body is in a folded position, whether it be things like child's pose or folding forward. These type of movements can help calm the body down, or even meditation, where you're just slowing the mind, focusing on your breath, and using your breath and body as the gateway to that process. Another one is when you actually are in bed, try to increase your experience of positive emotions. So one of the things that I do is I do my gratitude practice as I'm falling asleep. So rather than thinking about things I haven't done yet or things I need to do tomorrow, which is my brain's default tendency, I lay there and I list as many things as I can think of to be grateful for. So I go one by one by one, listing one after the other. And I find that this is a really powerful way and a research-supported way to get my body relaxed, get it in that positive emotional state. And gratitude is something we feel when we believe that good things are happening to us. We are the recipient of someone or something else's positive action. So when we are thinking about things that we're grateful for, it really helps to let our nervous system calm down and feel positive. And the last one that I will suggest is if you're having a hard time falling asleep because your mind is too active, take your mind instead to a place where you're visualizing images rather than just thinking thoughts. So any type of imagery will work. Dr. Gayatri Devi, author of the book A Calm Brain, talks about the power of thinking of really boring and mundane things and trying to imagine them with as much detail as you possibly could. So she talks about imagining her routine of walking her dogs to the office, and she tries to imagine every single step in that process, or retrieving her mail, something that she does every single day. And because of that, it's this mundane task. And so there's something to be said about boring your brain when trying to fall asleep. And using the process of imagining what we're thinking about rather than just thinking about it engages a very different type of brain process. It engages more of our alpha brain waves, which are a slower brainwave state, than beta brain waves, or a very active brain state, and can help get us into a more down-regulated place. So I hope you'll try out some of these strategies. They're really great to do even if you already sleep well. If you're already a great sleeper, perhaps these strategies will help get you into a deeper state of sleep. Or if you're struggling with sleep, give them a go. Try one at a time. Don't have to do them all at once. And begin to notice what impact does this make on your sleep and therefore your emotional state throughout the day, and perhaps how much more engaged you are with other people around you and with your work, and how this might create an upward domino spiral for you in your life. So give that a go. Let us know how it goes. Wishing you greater health and vitality. Hello, everybody. With me today, I have Andrea Seidel. She's joining us from Toronto, Canada, where she is an author, a coach, a yoga teacher, and is also a registered nutritionist. She is the creator of Live Life Happy, and she has a toolkit filled with strategies for how we can build well-being. A little not so known fact about Andrea that I absolutely love is that she loves to teach her dog new tricks. That is just amazing because you hear this all the time. Can you teach an old dog new tricks? Well, it sounds like Andrea has some tricks around how to do that, which is just so incredible. And I hope that we'll get to hear a little bit about that. And Andrea, I kind of want to ask you, like, what have you recently taught your dogs to do before we even dive into hearing all about what are you up to in the world?
Well, it's funny because my little golden retriever, she naturally lies on her tummy and like spreads her legs. And so I taught her how to crawl. So I just took a little treat and I taught her how to stay on her tummy and crawl across the floor.
I love that. That is amazing. I have a little Pomeranian poodle, and I think that she's just so used to being spoiled by me, and I've never had the patience nor the creativity to even think of those kind of things. So the idea of your golden retriever just crawling on her belly is amazing. Amazing. So Andrea, tell us, how did you get started in doing what you do today?
Well, I think that my career actually kind of kept growing on top of each other. So it was funny because my mom would say, Andrea, what do you want to go to university for? And I was never really clear on the direction that I needed to take and like what category that my career might fall into. But it's amazing how I continually just followed my heart and my passion. And it kind of led me in all these directions that allow me to kind of help people and empower people so that they can be well and live well.
I love that we can think about not just being well, but also living well. And I'm curious to hear more about the type of things that you've written about.
Mm-hmm. So I've written about nutrition and weight loss, and that was start to my career when I was helping people lose weight. It started as a seminar, and then it grew into a bigger booklet, and it turned into a book, and that one's called Mission Slim Possible. So it's all about helping women, specifically mostly women. I have worked with men as well, but it helps them so that they have the tools and the skills that they need in order to lose weight. But the funny part is that every time I would have this 10-week program, it was more than just being about the nutrition. The psychological component kept coming up and was actually dominating our meetings. And it was the component that actually helped people to be more successful. So I was pulling in all my psychology training from university, and I was like, this is much more effective actually than the actual nutrition information that I'm providing people. So that was a huge, profound shift for me. And so that's what I've written on mostly is nutrition and the psychological muscle that helps people make great decisions and like not just with food, but in every aspect of their life. So more of a holistic approach.
Wow, that is so inspiring because so often I feel like people think that it must be the food and it must be the exercise, and they're just shitting all over themselves, and that probably gets in the way of them being able to create the kind of changes that they want in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
And I know that now you've been integrating positive psychology into your interest, into the work that you do with people. What brought you to positive psychology?
It seemed like the next step for me. Like when I took the coaching training and I was into helping people with the coaching, and it just seemed like the natural progression and everything about the program. And it just really resonated with me. And it was like a part of what I was already doing, but it allowed me to deepen my understanding about the science behind why all these elements of positive psychology are so profound and how they can really, really help people. So it definitely intrigued me. I was always reading about it, and I was, talking about it and integrating it into my coaching and my books. And so it seemed like the next step for me to take the course with you and then just keep learning more and more. It's a beautiful, wonderful tool that can help a lot of people.
That's awesome, Andrea. What are some of the ways in which positive psychology has changed your life?
I think what it has done for me is given me the platform that all the training that I have was great and is great, but I feel like positive psychology really kind of raised the bar for me and allowed me to give my talks and write my books with a conviction and more confidence because of all the science of human flourishing and all the science that's gone behind it. So it adds a credibility piece to everything that I'm delivering, and it's helped me in so many ways, even in my yoga classes, even with parenting and helping with my children and help teaching them about mindset. And I've even gone into my kids' schools and done talks there. And it's amazing how well all the information is received.
That is so awesome, Andrea. And I know that you recently published a children's book that integrates some of the teachings of positive psychology. Would you tell us more about that?
So through the CAP program, we did have to do a final project, and I was already toying with the idea to publish another children's book. And given that I have two kids and everything, I thought, wow, this could be a wonderful tool to help kids learn the science of psychology and positive psychology, and just that element of grit and compassion. And I actually lost my friend's dog while I was babysitting it. And so that was kind of the fuel of the inspiration for the story behind the book. And it's called Finding Happy. And it's about an adorable dog named Happy who goes missing. And through the challenge, the family discovers the power of positivity, strength, and intentional behaviors. And it's really cute because I was able to make a story within a story that kind of educates and teaches children all about, positive psychology in a really absorbable, fun way, because life isn't going to be perfect. So this book is really emphasizing the fact that there will be challenges in life, and it's all about how you mentally approach it. And positive psychology in the course actually was really the fuel behind this book that I created recently.
That is amazing. And it's a beautiful book. I've read it. I love how it goes into, firstly, I think the pictures are of you and of your daughter and your dog, right? So are those real pictures?
Yes.
They're so
They
beautiful.
are. Yeah. My son did most of the photography. Yeah.
It's so fun. I love that it's a family affair, and what beautiful ways to just let the messages unfold and teach children around the power of not losing hope and finding things to savor and to be grateful for. We talk a lot in positive psychology about the importance of practices for self-care. And I'm curious, what are some of the self-care practices that you utilize that keep you feeling positive and strong?
Oh, that's such a good question, because sometimes, it is easy to let that go a little bit. So what I do is I love having just quiet time to myself, and that's usually in my own yoga practice, or it could be just going for a nice walk with my dogs and just, savoring the moment of that walk. So when I walk along my road, I notice everything beautiful about my surroundings. I take deep breaths, and I really become more mindful and present into the moment. Believe it or not, I also love getting my hair blow dried.
I too love getting my hair blow dried. I love that that's a form of self-care.
It is. It totally is.
And what are some of the concepts in positive psychology or interventions that you find have been the most helpful for you and for your clients?
I think the most helpful concept seem to really resonate with people is the self-compassion piece and that whole concept of the permission to be human. Life isn't going to be perfect. We are people, we're human. And I think that piece is just so beautiful, and it allows people to really have compassion for others and understanding and empathy for what others might be going through, but also have that same compassion and empathy and understanding for ourselves. That concept, I think it just, it spreads love in all ways, and it allows, everyone to really feel better in their life and in themselves.
Awesome, Andrea. What would you love to see more people get or embrace or utilize in their day-to-day life?
I would love to see people embrace and get and have more fun in their life. I mean, life is meant to be lived, and I feel like sometimes we get lost in the drudgery of, stress and work and sort of stuff, just more fun and more compassion and understanding for others.
I love that, Andrea. Thank you so much. And I'm curious if you could tell us more about how you work with people. So let's say a person comes to you and they say, Andrea, I want to lose weight. I'm not feeling happy in my body. I've been trying all sorts of things and they just haven't been working for me. What do you do in supporting them in getting to a place in their life that they're really happy with themselves and their body?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, usually a lot of my programs are I help people to lose weight. And so I'll do consultations actually around nutrition. And then I'll also give them life coaching sessions, which is where the answers are within them. So I really kind of go on an individual basis to kind of find out what my client's needing or what they could build into their life would really, really help them reach their goal. They usually know all the tips and all the nutritional adjustments that they need. It's also implementing other ways, like do they need support around making dinners at home, or do they need to adjust where they're building workouts into their schedule? So it's very individual. So I guess how I support my client is just kind of learning what their own program or what their own life is about, and then helping them to also figuring out how they can implement it into their life.
That's awesome, Andrea. What a beautiful way to help people feel supported in a process that can be really frustrating. What do you think the biggest mistake people make is when they're looking to shift their weight or shift their wellness?
I think the biggest mistake people make when they're trying to shift their weight and shift their wellness is they look to what others are doing and they don't necessarily build into their life what would work for them and what's best for them. I think that would be the biggest mistake that people might make, instead of kind of figuring out ways that would allow them to flourish and allow them to do really well. And, because what works for one person may not work for another person.
I love that, Andrea. Thank you so much. I find so often we are just overloaded with information, and there's so many different conflicting pieces of information you get at any given point. Don't eat this, do eat that, do more of this. One day cardio is good, the other day you need more strength training, and it can just be so overwhelming. So this permission to let people listen to themselves and find what's important to them is just so powerful. And I'm curious, in what ways has positive psychology supported you in going through some of the challenges of day-to-day life?
Positive psychology has really helped me in the self-compassion piece. I'm definitely one of those people that has a massive to-do list and big goals. And I think that self-compassion and just that permission to be human and allowing myself to stop thinking that perfect is a thing, that element of positive psychology has tremendously helped me personally in my life, just easing up a little bit.
I love that. That perfect is not a thing, right? It's a construct that doesn't actually ever exist. That's such a powerful thing to hear. And is there anything else that you would recommend that if people want to explore as practical strategies for increasing their well-being, what might you advise them to do?
I think I would advise my client or anybody out there to definitely take a good look at what it is that's very important for them. And I find that just connecting again to what your strengths are and what you really value in your life, and let that be your compass, and that'll bring a lot of joy in your life. I think that would be it.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And as we wind down, I'm curious if you have any slogan or motto or words to live by that help anchor you when you feel like you are going through a tough time.
Yeah, I definitely have a slogan, and I usually say it to myself, or I have it posted everywhere, and it's just simple. It's live life happy.
And that happens to be the name of your company too, which is awesome. So Andrea, tell us, where can we find more information about Live Life Happy and the work that you're doing in the world?
It would be my website, and that's andreaseidel.com.
Beautiful. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us. And listeners, if you're interested in learning more about an integrative approach to well-being, check out Andrea's website, check out her books, check out her work. So grateful for you being here and reminding us about the importance of drumming to our own beat, finding out what works for us, approaching our life with more self-compassion, and to remember that we can choose a life of happiness. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. Got an area of your life that you want to hack? Send us an email. Let us know what you would love support on. Or maybe there's an area of positive psychology that you'd love to learn more about the research about. Send us a message at info@theflourishingcenter.com. Until then, we wish you all the happiness, all the well-being that this day can afford you. And thank you so much for tuning into this podcast.